And we're live again. How's everybody doing today? It's Epic Spotlight Live. A little special one we're going to do is talk about a new listing. So we are trying to make sure we have a bunch of pictures that we want to do today and try to promote. We want to promote these great opportunities that are out here on the marketplace. I am waiting on my co-host, so give me a second, see if she's going to be coming in today. Um, let's see here. Let's see if she's going to become a Faye Washington. Supposed to be my co-host today, so let's see. Um, let's see. But how's everybody going? I was talking about. I feel like jump in on. We were talking about the Groundhog Day. And Groundhog Day was interesting. Like, yesterday. So I didn't even know that there's now a Groundhog Phil. I knew about Phil. And then there's Groundhog Willie. Now, Groundhog Willie is actually located in Groundhog Willie is actually located in Woodstock, Illinois. Now, the funny part is Woodstock, Illinois is where they actually filmed Groundhog Day. So that's a little unknown fact. I didn't even know how that all kind of worked out. And so basically, that was kind of like the storyline here is that I guess Woodstock, having this opportunity, they were like, hey, you know what? We might as well be a part of the equation. So they went ahead and made it happen. So they go on ahead and made their own Groundhog Willie. So I hope Willie's right. Willie came out and decided that he didn't see his shadow, so I guess we're good for early an early spring. And then I guess the other Groundhog Phil saw his shadow, so he said there's going to be another 6 weeks of winter. So go figure that out. Good morning, Faye.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
I can. I can. I was talking about Groundhog Phil and Groundhog Willie. Have you heard about Groundhog Willie?
I don't think so. I've heard about Groundhog Phil, but not Willie.
So basically, the movie Groundhog Day by with Bill Murray took place and was filmed in Woodstock, Illinois. And so that's kind of their claim to fame that, hey, the actual movie was actually filmed here, even though during the film they were acting like they were in Pittsburgh and this was, Phil. And so Woodstock decided, this town decided that they were going to do their own version. Why are we, portraying Philadelphia or Pittsburgh? Let's portray Woodstock. So they created their own Groundhog Willie. So Willie's out looking at shadows and all that type of stuff.
Well, I guess this is just to confuse us even more.
Well, even more confusing was Willie, whatever he did was opposite of what Phil did yesterday. So in Illinois, they said, oh, spring is coming early. And Phil says, no, you're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. So I forgot how it is if they see their shadow, if they don't see their shadow, whatever.
I think it's if they see the shadow, but if you got one saying one thing and another one saying something different, then where are we?
Where are we? Where are we? So yeah, I was bringing that up. Thanks for coming today. We have a listing today, so that's super cool. Did you want to first and foremost just let the audience know who you are?
Oh, sure, sure. My name is Faye Washington. I'm currently with Real People Realty. Just a year ago, prior to that, I managed my own brokerage since 2015. But my life venture took on some additional duties and additional things that I want to do. So my time got cut kind of short in terms of all these ventures. So I joined Real People Realty so that I could step back from being a managing broker and allow me to do some of the other things that I'm currently involved in doing. Because I like to do at this stage in life, I like to do things that are fun for me. But I love real estate. I've been in it since 2000. I got my license in 2006, but prior to that, I was doing real estate closings, which is where you and I met way back when. I won't say what year, so we don't, age ourselves too much. But I do love that industry, so I can continue to be in it, even though I'm pursuing other ventures. Um, right now, I have a listing. It's a two flat income building that's going up for sale, and it's going quite well. We've gotten quite a few. I just put it on the market a week ago, and we've got quite a few, maybe about 10 showings already.
That's awesome.
So there's a lot of traffic on that building because it's in a nice, very nice neighborhood. And like I said, it's income property, so it does help you. You're not carrying the whole load off of your income. You've got a lot of help with having a tenant, which I think is smart strategy. And I think my buyer of that building maybe picked that up from you, Dante, to kind of balance that load to don't jump in the middle of the pond. Start from the edges and work your way to the middle. Work your way, to your dream property. But work your way up so that you have some support. You have some financial support because these are large investment propositions that you're getting into, probably the most largest that you'll ever make in your lifetime.
No doubt. No, I 100% agree with you, and that's kind of the situation that we face. When you're deciding, the client that you're referencing, was at the time a first deemed as a first time home buyer. So what do I do? Do I go after the single family house, or do I go after the multi-unit building? Decisions that had to be made, and so the suggestion, was that maybe look at the multi-unit as an opportunity where you could live in one unit, rent out another unit, and that helps offset and your mortgage payment. And as sometimes, some months you feel like you're not really putting out as much money as you would if you had it, all to do it yourself. So looks like a great property. I was having some issues, and I was surprised. The slideshow is too big. I made a slideshow with all the pictures, and it's too big.
Okay.
But I was able to download this one. I was able to download this one right here. And I think if I can zoom it in, I'm just playing around with it. Is that better? Can you see it pretty good?
Yeah, I'd say pretty good.
Okay. I mean, so it gives you, it doesn't give you the whole layout. I was going to give you the whole rendition. So this is kind of, we're working through it. But, this is the property that we're speaking of. It looks beautiful on the outside for sure. And then obviously there are some pictures, here of the kitchen area, the bathroom. Let's talk about some of the descriptions of it, just to give it the dynamics of it. So how many well, it's a 2-unit building. Is it a, 3 beds, 1 bath on both floors?
No, it's two bedrooms, one bath on both floors.
Okay.
And then the basement has been fully redone, and there is recreational space, living space in the basement, and there's a bath, a newly remodeled bath in the basement. What you're looking at now, you see the portion of the backyard with the garage and the patio.
Uh-huh.
You see a kitchen on one of the units. But it's if these pictures were a little bit bigger,
Sure.
blown up a little bit, you could see just how nice and modernized it is. And then what's not on these pictures are the hardwood floors in the living room and the dining room that are beautiful. And then of course the kitchen has the slate tile everywhere in the bath. So everything has been updated and modernized in this property.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think and then what about I guess so let's go into some of the questions that I had. When someone walks into a home like this, what should they be feeling?
Well, first of all, it's an income property, so you know what you're walking into. Hopefully, you've talked about this venture with your realtor, with your loan broker, and understand the advantages that you are going to be experiencing jumping into an investment like this. Um, it's going to as you had said earlier, allow you to offset some of the expenses of
Mhm.
owning property. Renting out one of the units will pretty much, if you've done your research, you know what the rents are in the area, you kind of keep up with that. And of course, you can get some additional advice from your realtor and from your loan broker. And you rent out the unit, that's going to offset the majority of your mortgage payment. So that means you will be living in your unit at a much reduced cost versus renting the same type of unit from somebody else. And that will allow you to put aside some savings that can go towards, maintenance of the building that we always have to maintain the building, and savings for a later future venture of yours. Maybe that dream house single family that you want to jump into later. Well, this will allow you to put some savings to the side to be able to be ready for that venture, further down the road. So, especially for the younger generation, I think that starting off with income property is the best strategy. Don't jump into the middle of the ocean. Start off with some income property, understand the whole dynamics of owning property, what's involved, and then being able to set aside, adjust your budget. You can set aside funds for a later venture that you may want to jump into. And guess what? This property just keeps on paying. It just keeps on giving because if you strategize correctly, plan it right, once you move out of the unit, because remember, you're in a unit, you're going to rent that unit out. And guess what? More income. Guess where that additional income can be applied? To your single family dream house. And you wind up paying virtually very little, contributing very little towards the cost, the mortgage of the dream property because your investment property is taking care of you. So that's, I think, is so attractive, especially to the younger, group of buyers who have the energy to maintain a property, have the energy, to deal with tenants and, all of that good stuff that goes with it. Nothing is free. You got to put some energy in it. But yeah, I think that would be the best route to go.
I love that. Because a lot of the younger generation talks about this term house hacking. And the theory about house hacking to some degree is this kind of revelation of living in the house and being able to maybe rent out a room per se, but you can rent out a whole floor and and offset your mortgage payment. And then, just like you said, the ability to one day, okay, I'm ready to buy my house, use this as rental income that adds on to your job income, and now that's going to help you qualify, and now you have an investment property that you didn't have to put 20% down.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's a big difference. So, utilizing, in essence, utilizing FHA, 3.5% down is the minimum, or, potentially 5% down conventional on a 2-unit building. This is a great opportunity for you to, garner a potential investment property, maybe live in there for a year, 2 years or so. And I like that idea because when you live there for a year or so, you get the lay of the land. You get to know how everything works, from the doors. You gotta, just jingle the door and or it'll be fine. From the plumbing aspects, from the roof on a bad storm, or the windows. Do they whistle back at you? You have a true feeling of the building, and then that makes you a better landlord, I would imagine, because you understand what someone may have an issue with, and you know how to solve that problem.
Absolutely. And that's knowledge that you can take with you to your next venture. So you are more of an experienced, educated buyer when you're looking at your next venture. All those little things that you've learned from your first venture, now you can kind of look out for those things in your next venture.
I love it. Let me ask you, what do buyers usually fall in love with first? What would you say to that?
Curb appeal, curb appeal. When they walk up, they step up to that property, that curb appeal, the left and right, the environment, that's what grabs them. how would I feel living here? How would I feel in this environment? How does this hit me? And I mean, I know we're supposed to strategize, but some of it is emotion. Like comments that I've heard from people is it just it felt good. It felt like me before they even walked into the door. Now, once they get inside the door, reality kind of hits in terms of the layout, how many bedrooms, how many baths, what the kitchen look like, especially for the female, what the kitchen look like, what the bath looks like. And then, it sets in, okay, does this layout fit me? Am I okay with this layout? Is it comfortable for me? The appliances, are they new enough? All of that. That is the second part. But before you even get to that part, if when they walk up, if that curve appeal is not doesn't meet their expectation, then they're moving on kind of with a negative tone that they got to get past. Some people say, "Well, I didn't like the curb appeal," but inside it was great. I loved it. I loved it. So you're looking at curb appeal first in the neighborhood, and then you're going inside and you're looking at the layout. How does it work for you? Because most people are going to be in property a couple of years before they consider, either getting out of the property, selling the property, moving up, buying something else. They're going to be there for several years. I usually say about 4 to 5 years before you start to look at moving forward. Even if you have a tenant and the tenant is in that property and eventually they want to buy their own, usually they're in that property 4 to 5 years before they make that next step to buy their own. So you're in there that amount of time before you make your next venture, your next step. So you want it to feel right. You want it to have enough space for now and for you to grow a little bit because maybe you come to the property with one child. About 4 or 5 years from now, you may have two children or three children. So you want it to provide enough space for your family so you can grow a little bit and not feel too cramped, as your family increases. And then a lot of people are doing working at home now. You want to have some quiet space where you can do that, be able to work at home, and the family still continue to do, their routine. So, yeah, you're looking at the curb appeal when you walk up because, you want to be in a nice neighborhood, a neighborhood that feels comfortable, but you also want to be inside in a house that you just love coming home to.
Sure. Now let me ask you the flip side of that. What should I be paying attention to? What should I be focused on when and this doesn't have to be for this particular property, it could be for any property. What are the things I should be focusing on if I'm looking for a home?
Well, look at your requirements. Most people who are coming out of a rental environment and going into a home environment, they want a garage. You want a garage. So, the car can be out of the elements and you can have some space, to store stuff. You don't want to be paying for extra storage. So you want a garage. You want a barbecue in the summer. You want a patio or something in the back so that you have space to, kind of relax, kick back, have some friends and family over, barbecue. So you're looking at, okay, what kind of space do we have? What's available back here that I can utilize, or maybe in the future I can expand on a little bit. You want to look at what's in the property. If there's not a washer and dryer there already, is there a hookup? Is there features for a hookup so that you can have a washer and dryer? Because once you buy a property, you don't want to be going to the laundromat. You want to look at, like you said, the windows. What kind of windows do we have in here? Because we have sometimes we have some harsh winters. So what type of windows do we have? You want to look at the doors. Are these the kind of doors that you would like to have, or do you feel you're going to need to change these? Because some people, they have little pet peeves about that. They want a door when you walk up to that door, it speaks to you. I'm one of those people. I don't want a door that looks like plain Jane. I want a door that has some elegance, for lack of a better term, to it. When somebody walk up to my house, that feeling is invoked. Oh, this is nice. Um, so you're looking at that. And then when you go in the basement, you want to look and see if there's like the water heater. what's the capacity? If there 3 people in your family, 4 people in your family, you want a water heater that's going to be able to continue to provide hot water after everybody showers and the dishes are washed and all that. So those kinds of things. And again, you as if you're a first time buyer, you don't really know about those things, but your realtor does. That's why you need to be working with the team because one person does not know it all. And if this is not your area of expertise, you need to be seeking the services of someone who works in that area, who can point out different things that you may never even think about, may not even dawn on you. You want to look at the meters. Okay, if it's a multi-unit building, you're going to have several meters. You're going to have a meter for the common area. If it's a single family, you don't have to worry about that. You only have one. But it depends on the property you're buying and the kinds of things you need to be looking for and the assistance that you need to help you, even with a single family. You need to be talking to your realtor. You need to be talking to your loan officer because there's things they can share with you that never dawned on you. But it will protect you. That's why you have a team to help protect you. You're in an area that you know very little about, in an area that's changing. It's constantly changes. The loan market is changing. The real estate market is changing. You need to be working with your team to help you identify a lot of these little things that never dawned on.
I love that. It's so good. You took me back to when I bought my first house, and um, and I know I brought my dad. I wanted my dad to walk the premises. I wanted him to walk around with me because I was like stoic, but I didn't know. I didn't know, and I wanted to make sure. Like, is what do you think? And it's like those moments from a son and a father. Where at first he's your idol, he's your role model, and then there's a point in time where it's like you tend not to listen to your parents, whatever, and then there's that moment where you have to bring them back into your life, like, hey, you're my guidance counselor now. You don't have to tell me right from wrong, but I need you now. I need you now. um so like Smokey Norfolk, I need you now. And so it that is so true, so true. So no, it is important. You want to have a strong financial team and a team that you feel like's got your back, that can give you the insights of like, am I missing something? Something that like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And you're just collecting data. You're just collecting information so you can make the best decision for yourself. I mean, at the end of the day, once the transaction is done, it really is you and your house, and that's your mortgage payment. But hopefully the information that you've gathered from good people around you supporting you, has allowed you to make the right decision, and that's the right choice for you and your future and your family. So
I
no.
totally agree. Totally agree. And that, like you said, you brought your dad with you. Why'd you bring your dad with you? Because now you were counting on his experience. His
Hmm.
experience, because he's your dad. He's much older than you, and he's probably bought properties, and he's been in and out of number of properties, so he know what to look for. So you were counting on his experience. Well, that's what you count on with your team. Now, understand, having a team is not absolutely perfect. There are going to be some things that come up or some things that happen that nobody knew about. Nobody could anticipate. That's just life. Life will be lifing. And you're going to have to deal with some things that maybe you didn't see coming. But the majority of the things that you have to deal with purchasing property, you're working with your team, the majority of those things come.
Yeah. I mean, it is a fallacy to believe that every home inspector knows everything. It's a
Absolutely.
and it's not a perfect science. Nothing ever is. Real estate, as I always talk about, is a leap of faith in all directions. You have to take a leap of faith that you're ready to handle this, because no one's ever really 100% ready. But the timing is just, it's now or never. You feel like you're ready, and you go for it, and you just have to have a faith in buying property, hoping that the seller is above board, and has done the right things, and hasn't hid stuff from you, and that this is the property that's going to make the best sense for you and your family. So it is a big deal. And I'm curious, what work has been done to this particular property? Has he done some recent modifications or remodeling that really sticks out?
Yes, he has. Well, when he bought the property, it was totally rehab when he bought it. So he came in and did some additional things that I would say personalized it that he wanted. Like the basement was done. It was finished, but he wanted to personalize it. So he put in a restroom in the basement, the shower, everything. And to give it some additional personalization. And then he was anticipating maybe some additional family would come over and have sleepover. So he wanted it so that family could be down in the basement, not necessarily up in his unit of 2 bedrooms, but be comfortable in the basement. You can go out of the basement to the backyard, to the garage. You don't have to come upstairs to do that. You can go into the basement from front and go right down. You don't have to come through the house to do that. The shower and the bathroom down there, it's totally new, brand new. Um, the, it doesn't show on the pictures that you have right now, but the basement itself is spacious. He even have the hookup if you want to put a kitchenette. He had that put in, and he had a professional to do all this because this person that owned the property is not in the construction business. They're in the electronic business. So he had a professional come in and do all of this so that is closed off from the back of the basement where the washer and dryer and all that is. So you have a complete living space in that basement that's very nice. And he had thought about making it up, you guys call a man cave, with the big TV down there. And being able to hang out with the guys down there when it's cold instead of going out in the back, on the patio. So he personalized that so that he can enjoy it and his family could enjoy it. And it's one of the pictures does show it, but it's very, very nice. I kept, even though, I was involved in the transaction, I kept checking on that property, checking and looking at, the upgrades and the stuff because, I was encouraging him, to do this because it would add value to your property. But even if it didn't, you would enjoy it. You would personally, you and your family would personally enjoy it. He's done quite a few things. I mean, if I was not in this situation I'm in, age wise and otherwise, this would be a property that I would love to have.
Yeah, it looks amazing. What neighborhood is it in Chicago? What
It's Northwest Chicago.
Northwest? Okay,
Northwest Chicago.
Northwest. Okay.
They just in that neighborhood on that street, across the street, a couple of houses down, they just built a brand new $500,000 property.
Wow, that's huge. So obviously we're in a good neighborhood. A neighborhood that you can feel comfortable in coming in and the appreciation is just soaring. I
Or
remember this deal. I mean, it's climbing.
and the city has walled it off. It's a cul-de-sac. You can't even come into that from the main street. You have to come up the main street and then come around and come into it. So it's a nice block for, kids playing. You don't have to worry about the traffic or anything. Very nice.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. And speaking of kids, because each home has like a feeling or a type of maybe consumer that this would fit well for. And I was curious, just what who would be like an ideal buyer for this? Is it a family person, or is it someone maybe a little bit older in their life? Who do you think it really fits? What type of life stage would they be in to hit this, for a client?
I would say a growing family, because the block has children, but not a lot of children. The block has elderly people who've been there since forever, retained in their home. The kids are up and grown and gone, they're empty nesters, but like the neighborhood, they like their property and they're retaining the property. And then, of course, like there's new builds coming on the block. But I would say a young family. This would be ideal for young family.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's important to kind of picture the type of customer. And one of the things I spent the time over the weekend, and you could appreciate this of just trying to really line up who's my client. Who do I really service? Who do I help? And make sure that my message is clear that I'm here to help you. And so we started kind of mapping out like what is the age demographic, and just who is that type of ideal client. And so it fits home for someone like this. This is probably in the range of a 32-year-old to somewhere probably 50, 52, somewhere in that corridor that maybe just got married, maybe have one child. This would be a perfect opportunity. And then you have that component of a multi-use family. I mean, yes, you can go with cash flow, but you can also convert this to like a family building too.
Yes, yes, you can. Yes, exactly.
And that's especially as we talk about what do they call those, the in-law suites.
Downstairs in the basement.
Man, I mean, but it is this blended family and these blended generational family situations that are developing now, where it's like, hey, I got to take care of my mom, and but her being 35 minutes away or 40 minutes away, it's inconvenient, with
Right.
all the responsibilities that you have with just having kids. So if you could have a multi-unit building where I could have my mom maybe on the first floor and I'm upstairs, I can get to her quickly and I can make sure she's okay and take care of some of the needs and wants. So I mean, it's something to consider when these family dynamics are merging like that. Family buildings like this, multifamily buildings like this, are something definitely that you want to consider.
Yes, absolutely. And then also look at the college children, the college age children, when they, graduate and come back home. I mean, they're not ready to jump into all this finance and all this yet. They just got out of college. I know one of my clients, um, her daughter who graduated from college, she came back home. She didn't even want her bedroom anymore. She took over the basement in the
Mm,
house, and that's her quarters, the basement. So yeah, you're absolutely correct to have a family building, or have space in a single family where the adult child now can have their own space, and still be home.
yeah,
And of course, you had that added convenience of if something happened with the parent or whatever, there's somebody there. They're there. You
correct,
don't have to wait for somebody to drive over. There's somebody that's there because they live there.
correct. No, these are great opportunities. And speaking of that, as kind of a similar situation out in the burbs, there was a single family house, basically just a one-story single family house. And what they ended up doing, daughter came back home after college. They just bumped up the house. They had and just did a remodel, and then they just moved themselves upstairs so they could have that separation. So to encourage the daughter in this particular situation to stay. Hey, you can stay, do your thing. We'll be here. And I just think more and more these are opportunities that we have to look at. We have to look at these family style of homes as just because of expenses, right? It's just so expensive, and maybe working together, pooling our money together. These are opportunities that we definitely need to consider.
Absolutely. And guess what? When they did that, they just upped the value of their property. They just
Yeah.
it went through the roof when they did that. Yeah. So, it just keeps on giving in so many different ways.
Yeah, I want to go back to the beginning. You said, you always will stay in real estate. I just am, always love to hear, why. What makes real estate so special to you? I mean, what in your experience and what have you seen just personally and professionally that really encouraged you about real estate?
Well, like I said, I started off doing mobile closing
Hmm.
and I liked it. I liked it. And then I got more into it by getting my real estate license. in 2006, I was at a real estate office in Lansing, and I was doing a closing. I was doing a mobile closing. And the managing broker there said, would you consider coming and working for me at this office? He said, I just really like the way you handled things, how you interacted with, with his buyers. And I hadn't thought about getting my real estate license. Really had, like I said, I have an MBA. I had not thought about that, but I enjoyed it so much. And I said, well, yeah, let me think about it. And I did. And then I took the training and got my license and I went to work for him at his office and wound up being over the entire closing department and
Mm,
working with, the people coming in. And I found I really enjoyed it because it was like a win-win situation. One side was getting what they want, within reason, and the other side was getting what they wanted. And it was a win-win situation. And the feeling of appreciation just was overwhelming for me. So I kept doing it. I kept doing it and I kept doing it. And then I got into probate. Now, probate is a different animal. You are selling, they're selling the property and all that, but the squabbles between the families, that's
mm,
a different dynamic. The squabble between the families, because in probate, usually, one of the property is deceased. So it's the heirs that are engaged in selling this property.
mhm,
But it's still selling property. And when it does, we get past all the argument and the squabbling and get it sold, it is a good feeling that now this is something that's been resolved and the heirs can, take whatever and go their ways. And this is something that is now no longer a problem. So I do enjoy even dealing with the probate property and dealing with the families, and kind of talking them down from the ledge. Let's do this. Let's get this done. Okay. Um, so even though I'm not available to do as much volume that I used to do, I still like to be involved with this because invariably I'm running into people who have issues. Young lady where I used to live, she bought a condo in what's that suburb, southwest suburbs. I can't remember right, but it's like Orland, Tinley Park. Tinley Park is where it was. And that was a good thing. It was a good thing. Her mother passed and she bought a condo. And then she called me, probably 6 to 8 months after. She was so upset. Now, I was not her realtor. I had nothing to do with it. She didn't even talk to me about doing it. I just knew she was doing it because it was close proximity. So I knew she was doing it. But she called me because she had gotten a notice that her mortgage was going to go up by 2 grand. And she couldn't afford that. She's older and she's on a fixed income. And I said, why? She said, because of I said, well, your taxes didn't go up 2 grand. What happened? And it turned out that they weren't prorated. They were prorated based on all of the exemptions that the seller was entitled to. But the buyer wasn't entitled to any of those exemptions. She didn't own the property. So that wasn't handled correctly. And I questioned, I said, do you have an attorney? Blah, blah, blah. And the whole 9 yards. She said, yes. I said, well, you need to go back to that attorney because something didn't go right. And she did. And the attorney was a little reluctant because she called the realtor. Well, the realtor couldn't do anything about it. So she called her attorney, and asked her attorney, the seller's attorney. And it wasn't going too well. She wasn't getting resolution. So I told her the next step or two. And she got resolution. They called the attorneys back in and say, hey guys, this once I got the paperwork, this wasn't done correctly. You got to redo this. And that was done. And she got that resolved. She didn't have to pay the extra month. month. And it got resolved. She called me back. She was so happy. And that's what makes me want to stay that I can help people read that I can help them, even if I'm not their realtor. I entertain questions and stuff. I don't have to be your realtor. I will speak with you. I will talk with you. I will help you and guide you in the right direction if I can. You don't always have to use my services, but if I can help you, if I can guide you in the right direction, point you in the right direction, so that it winds up being a win-win. That is satisfying to me.
That's awesome. Faye, can you give your contact information?
Sure, everything is mobile. You know, we're mobile. Everything is mobile. My number, that's been my number since 1993.
Wow.
And my cell number since 1993. I don't change my number. 312-718-6774. If I don't answer, please leave a voicemail because I will return all of my calls.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to take a quick time out right here and just do a quick promo. But whether you're buying, refinancing, or investing, call Epic today. That's 708-905-5300, 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. Now, properties like this and other properties that are on the market that we know the listing agents, we want to work with them. We actually have our website, which is my name, DanteRoyster.com. So if you go to DanteRoyster.com, you'll be able to see this property and others that are on the market and ready to go. And this is a beautiful home, and it's not going to be out too much longer. So definitely, if you are interested, you need to reach out to Faye, or you can reach out to me. We'll get you pre-approved right away. So then that way you're eligible and qualified. Now, after the show is over, this show right now, Faye, is on Facebook right now, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. So we're streaming. This is called streaming. That's what the kids do. We're streaming right now. So
The streaming.
we're streaming. We're streaming. So, some people, I was like, well, it's not really a podcast. We're streaming. But right now, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, after the show is over, definitely would love for you to go to our YouTube channel, Epic Spotlight. Check out the most recent podcast. So I had an interview with Miles Powell, and it was a great conversation I had. Miles is created 8 Miles Comfort Foods, and it really goes into the whole entrepreneur story of a young Black male making it happen. So you can find his food in Whole Foods. You can find his food in a lot of regional markets. So look out for 8 Mile Comfort Food. That is Miles Powell. I had the opportunity to spend time with him. He's actually relocated himself down to the Texas area, and so it was a great story. And I'm all in for great stories, and just he's very ambitious. And so I encourage everyone to check out the Miles Powell Epic Spotlight podcast. That's my most recent one, and I wish him well. And I hope he's doing some big things. But he's in the whole CPG part of the industry, and you really don't really see Black-owned food companies. So that's why it was like so important. I wanted to oh man, I want to speak to you. I want to ask you all these questions because I wanted to get to more familiar with just his story, his background, and what he's trying to do. And I wish him well. So definitely check that out after this. But we do have some questions here, and I appreciate everyone putting in here. If you have questions, go ahead and put it in the comment section. We'll go ahead and answer them. So here, let's go with a couple questions that we have here. And we'll start here. Dixon writes, how important is neighborhood growth when buying a home?
I think you need to look at that because you're going to be in the neighborhood for I'd say at least 4 or 5 years. You're going to be in the neighborhood, so you want to look at how that neighborhood is growing, or is it growing? You want it, and if you have children, you want to look at whether or not there are other children in the neighborhood. You want to look at the schools in the neighborhood, because your child will be more likely in a school in the neighborhood. And the properties in the neighborhood, are they well kept? Because you want your property value to go up. So definitely look at that. It's not hard, to research that. Some keystrokes will get you the information you need on that, and talking to your realtor.
I'm curious on that. If I was looking up a neighborhood, like, because if I'm trying to gauge, like, is this a growing area or not? I remember back in the day, they were talking about Bronzeville. Oh man, this is up and coming. It's gonna be booming, and it kind of never really did. But like, what can I look up to kind of gauge a better idea of appreciation? What would you say?
Well, your realtor can run some reports on the neighborhood and share those with you. That's a starting point, and then you can take it further. But that information will let you know about all the schools, the private and the public schools.
Mm.
It'll let you know about what's happening, what has been happening over the last, I think we can go up maybe 10 years in the neighborhood. Um, if you want to look at the crime, what the stats are on crime in the neighborhood, all of that's in the report. And you can take that report and then, there are links where you can go further if you want to with that information. But start again with the realtor, and in terms of financing, and I'm going to say this because I know it to be true, not because I have favorites or anything, but Epic Mortgage is the best loan broker you can work with. Why? Not because they're perfect, nobody's perfect, but whatever situation you're in, they will strive, leave no stone unturned to work with you to get you past all of that and get you to a win. I personally know this. I was dealing with some out of state people that, did some things that as a realtor, I was just like blown away. And I discussed it with Dante. And he was like, oh, well, we're going to have to work through this, even though we're dealing with out of state people. But he's a loan broker, so he can do that. But he will work no matter, like some people say, well, my credit is bad. Well, this is that. Okay, you're not the professional. You don't know how to work around those things. You just lay them on the table and you let the professionals go to work to give you the goal, the outcome that you want. Even if they say, well, you got to wait a year, or you need to do this for a year, or do this for 6 months, and then you'll be ready. They're giving you professional advice that they know works. And Dante is one of the most honest, upstanding people I know. They're not going to blow smoke. They're going to tell you the real deal, and they're going to work with you to help you reach your goal. That is what you want.
Wow. Thank you, Faye. Appreciate that. And I know that comes from the heart. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Next question from Jack. How do lifestyle needs affect home buying decisions?
Well, your lifestyle, again, look at your family size. What now and 4 or 5 years out? What you're going to need in terms of a residence? You need a residence that's going to accommodate that now and in the near distant future. So when you're looking at buying property, keep all of that in mind. The age of your children, if you now are going to have to accommodate your parents, keep all of that in mind and kind of factor that into what you're going to buy. And like Dante said, a family building. You're going to have to accommodate your parents because they're getting older. Look at getting a family building, an income building. So if you move out or if your parents, make transition, here you can put a tenant in there and generate income. And eventually you may want to move out of your unit, put a tenant in there, and have that unit that you moved out of pay for the where you're going, pay
Mm.
for your single family. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but you got to factor in all of those. Don't just look at today. Don't just look at where you are today, because hopefully we all plan on being here tomorrow and tomorrow. So factor all of help you.
Awesome. Got another question here. What upgrades add the most value in Chicago homes?
Kitchens and baths. Kitchens and baths. I'm telling you, kitchens and baths. You know how they say a happy wife, a happy life? Nice kitchen, nice bath. Hey, you are going in the right direction. And of course, for the men, and sometimes the women, the man cave, or they call them the Shay Shack or whatever terms they're using now. They can have, the girls over and not bother you all upstairs. So if you can have your basement, have it done, have it finished, some amenities down there, especially bathroom down there. Yeah, yeah, that's your kitchen and your bath is it. Because you're gonna have your garage. Now your patio, you want it nice because you want to be able to go out and barbecue in the summer. So, have that nice so y'all can sit out back and kick back. Kitchen and your bath, that's going on. That's what you want to put some emphasis.
Yeah, I don't even think that's just Chicago homes. I just think that's in general.
That's in general.
Yeah,
That's in, that's
yeah,
what women look at. Kitchen
yeah.
and bath.
Kitchen and baths. Dirk, what questions should buyers ask before making an offer?
Well, before making an offer, I assume, I hope you have discussed this with your realtor who's, gone with you to look at these properties. You already have discussed this with your loan broker. You know what your buying power is, and your loan broker usually tell you if your buying power is 250, try to stay to 230 because you got to ultimately look at the mortgage. So those things you've already discussed. Now, the last thing, or maybe not the last, but not the least you need to be considering, does this property have, does it have the things that I personally like? I'm going to be comfortable with. Does it have those things? And again, nothing's perfect. Even when you custom build your own property, it's still not perfect. But does it check most of my boxes? Does it allow some growth in the next 5 years for me and my family? I continue to be comfortable here as, I grow, my family grows, the situation grows. When you can answer those affirmative, most of them in the affirmative, and you weed that property out from all the others and you narrowed it down, and that's the one you go for.
Mm, love it. Now, this is going back. Antoine is going back to the property that we were talking about. Is this home ideal for families or professionals?
When you say professionals, do you mean single people? Or I mean, if indeed you're saying professionals as single people are not their career and all that, yes, because it's going to provide the additional income that you need to meet, your family expenses. But it's also good for families. Yes, like Dante was saying, if you want to make it a family building, you can do that. You have 2 units and you have a basement, so it's good for both.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't know a professional in particular, but yeah, it's definitely really there's opportunity. It gives you flexibility. Having a multi-unit building gives you the flexibility. You can make it a family, actual family building, or you can rent it out to another family and have rental income coming in, and gives you that flexibility. Or eventually, convert it into 100% all investment property for yourself, and you got in at a cheaper amount than putting the 20% down. So it gives you that flexibility.
Absolutely. It's very flexible, depending on, what your personal goals are.
Exactly. And then we got a message here from Joe. Great show. This Chicago home is stunning. Appreciate you, Joe, and definitely appreciate Faye bringing it on, and obviously listen to this beautiful house. I did have a couple, rapid fire questions as we wrap this up. The time is flying. I mean,
Is it? What time is it?
man, we
I'm
only
having a
got
good time.
yeah, only about 7 more minutes, and it's a wrap. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, it's been great. No, it's been great having you, and it's nice to see you. Sometimes we get so engulfed in the business, I don't get to see you, so it's nice to see you. It's been a
No, we
long
just
time.
talk on the phone. We just talk
Yeah,
on the phone. And we talk by text.
yes. Text, talk, receive. Yeah, I'm in receipt of this email, and we keep it
Hmm.
moving.
Yep.
Um, this is more to do with just buyers mindsets, and I want to make sure we give them some gems. But biggest misconception buyers have today, what would you say to that?
I would say finance. I would say the money because, especially first time home buyers, they would think that, okay, the seller pays for everything at the closing. No, 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 no. You need some money in the bank. You need some money in the bank. Ante is going to handle your loan and all of that. You need some money in the bank because you have title costs that are yours as the buyer. The seller had their own title costs, but you have title costs. You have escrow. It's got to be set up. Pay your taxes and insurance. I do not advise anybody to say, well, I'll pay my taxes on home. No, that's a recipe for disaster, especially for first time home buyers. So you have some costs that you're going to have to pay. So have a couple of $1,000 in your savings because you're going to have to pay some of your own costs. Now, your loan broker is going to get you as much as they can, down payment, all that. They're going to do all of that for you. But there are some things that you as a buyer have got to take care of. You got to have some skin in the game. Okay, this is your property that you're buying. You have got to have a stake in this. So, have a couple of few thousand in the bank so that you can cover your own costs. Once you get the keys to your property, you got to go in, you got to do some things. You got to have the lights changed, the gas changed, and all that. They may want deposits. So, have a few thousand in your account. Step into this new.
Awesome. Best advice for someone sitting on the fence. What would you say?
Well, again, go back to your team. Go back to your, okay? Two heads is better than one, as they say. Talk to your realtor who's seen the properties with you. Talk to your loan broker who is looking at, the numbers in the geographical area, what amounts are loaned and all of that. Talk to them and of course talk to your family. And just if it feels right, the numbers are right. The area and all that, all that. And you're still a little hesitant and you like it, they've seen it. I know you brought them by. Take a look. If all of that lines up, and again, nothing is perfect, it will never be absolutely perfect. But if all the boxes are checked and it lines up and you feel good about it, go for it.
Love it. What separates confident buyers from frustrated ones?
I kind of think they haven't done their homework. They haven't gotten their team together. Before you, people used to be, I'll say used to be, even though some of it's still done now. They'll go out looking at property. They haven't talked to a loan broker. They haven't talked to a real estate broker. They just go out looking. And then they form these ideas that are ill conceived because they're not informed. And then when they do come to the table to talk to a real estate broker, loan broker, they formulated these misconceptions in their mind. And then the bubble gets burst. Reality sets in. And they're like, oh, I thought
Right.
this. Why would you think that? First of all, why you go shopping and don't know how much money you have? Explain that to me. Why would you wouldn't even go to the mall to buy a pair of shoes, not knowing how much money you got in your pocket or how much credit you got on your card? Because that would be frustrating. Because you get there and you find the shoe, you can't buy it because you don't have enough money. Well, you should have known that going in. And that's what your loan broker does. They tell you what your budget is, what your price range is, and to stay within that. So when you go out looking at properties or whatever, drive-bys on Sunday, whatever, you already know what your price range is, what you can afford and what you can't. So ain't no point in looking at stuff that you can't afford because you're gonna frustrate yourself. You find out, oh, I can't buy that. But I like it. You can't buy that. Your budget will not allow it. So you're frustrated because you didn't consult your team, got ahead of your team. You are not the professional. Consult your team first and then go shop.
Hmm. One thing every buyer should ask themselves before making an offer.
Well, after you've seen the property, you discuss it with your realtor to make sure, this is would be a good fit for you. Of course, you got your money right because your loan broker's already told you what price range you can buy in. And you've discussed it with your family, and you really like that property. That one's grabbing you. That one's speaking to you. Well, look at the offer. Your realtor can help you with that offer because they may be asking one price, but what's a reasonable offer? Because sellers are not going to entertain if they're asking, for example, if they're asking 210 and you want to offer one, they're not even going to offer. As a rule, they're not. Always some exceptions, but as a rule, they're not too far from what they're asking. And they're what they're asking is based on their research that they've done, okay? And what their mortgage obligation. So these numbers don't just come out of the air. These numbers are based on sound principles. And so talk to your realtor because they've been dealing with other properties probably in the area or similar. And they'll say, well, if you want to offer this is a $250,000 listing. If you want to offer maybe 230, that's a place to negotiate from because then the seller may come back and say, well, I'll accept 240. Me counter you. So you're in the ballpark. You want to be in the ballpark with your offer. You don't want to be somewhere out in left field. You want to be in the ballpark. And for you to get in the ballpark, you got to be talking to you, looking at these properties that's being sold in that area and similar properties and what that ballpark is. You're not going back and forth because after a couple of that, then it just falls down. Everything just falls down because then the seller gonna feel you're not serious or they're not. But you want to be in the ballpark, but again, leave a little room for negotiation.
Got it.
As Dante can tell you, this market is negotiable. It's negotiable.
It is. If someone remembers one thing from today's tour, we toured the house, we talked about it. What's one thing you want them to take away from this?
What I always say to everybody when they start talking about real estate, I tell them, get your money straight. Talk to your loan broker. Find out how much money you can spend. Unless you're paying cash, you got to get a mortgage loan. So you need to be talking with your loan broker, not just your bank. Your bank is one entity, and I have nothing against any banks. That's just one entity. Your loan broker is like a mall. They can shop loans from the East Coast to the West Coast to get you the best offer. So first, your loan broker, when you're thinking about, well, I want to buy, and you should buy because if you're renting, you're just paying somebody else's mortgage. Understand that. Talk with your loan broker. Find out how much money you have to spend. Once you know that, seek out a realtor because the realtor is going to work with people who have the ability to buy. If you don't have the ability to buy, then we're wasting our time. So you need to get your money straight first. Talk with your loan broker, get a realtor, or do this simultaneously so you know what you're dealing with. Those two, because without those two things, you're kind of dead in the water. You're kind of stuck. You can't move. You don't know what you're doing. So get that together first. Your loan broker and your realtor, and then the next third party of your team, very, very, very important third party of your team that keeps your behind out of trouble, the real estate attorney. Those three people you got to have on your team. Those three professionals must be on your team. They're going to give you the money. They're going to make sure that you're picking the right property. And then they're going to cover all the legalities of real estate because it can be a nightmare. You can get yourself in deep water quick if you don't know what you're doing. So get your attorney, get your loan broker, get your realtor. Start out with your team. And if you do that, you're probably going to be.
That's awesome. Faye, let me get your contact information one more time.
Okay. Let me just say this. I now have narrowed my focus down to sellers. It was sellers. 312-718-6774. You can call, you can text, but if you call, please leave a voicemail because I'm usually not personally answering the phone every time, but I do check my voicemail. I do return my calls, and you can also email me if you needed to email me. You leave me a message, tell me you want my email. I will call you back. I will text you back, give you my email. I am with Real People Realty right now, but I am available for sellers primarily. 312-718-6774. And if you're dealing with a probate situation where you have property in the state that you need to get sold so that the heirs can get their inheritance, please give me a call. I'm also a probate specialist. Properties 312-718-6774. Now, I deal primarily with Chicago and Southland Chicago. I don't go way north and all of that because that's far. But Chicago, South and South suburbs. I'm good because I live in the South suburbs. I'm good. I know the area.
This was amazing. This was so much fun. Thank you so much. And I know this listing is going to be under contract very soon. And congratulations. And it was so nice. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I got to talk to you offline to get this comfort food because I'm like comfort food. I might
Eight
want to get
Mile. Yeah. 8 Mile
yeah.
Comfort Food. We got to support him. Miles Powell.
But what's his email? Just eight
Uh,
mile comfort food.
I think it's, yeah, the brand is 8 Miles. 8 Miles
Eight
Comfort.
miles. Eight
Mm-hmm.
miles comfort food. That's the brand. Okay,
Mm-hmm. That's
got
the brands. So yeah,
okay.
you should.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can check
you
that
go
out.
to Whole Foods?
Not a lot. I'm single, so I don't do a lot of shopping, but I can.
All right.
I can check it out.
Check it out.
I
He's
can
got
do
some.
that.
Yeah, he was making me hungry when we were talking macaroni and cheese and all this stuff, and
Oh, he
really
got
just.
me with the mac and cheese. He got me
Oh
with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Got
yeah. It's worth it.
okay.
Definitely worth it. But no, I appreciate you today. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks everyone for listening in today. Appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week on Monday. We're going to be doing a little switch up on Monday. We're going to be talking about some marketing for real estate professionals as well as business professionals. So it'll be a nice conversation I'm going to have with Lamont Aleb, and so I'm looking forward to that. And I hope everyone has a good rest of the week.
All right. Take care.
You take care. Bye.